I wish I could tell you, rock bottom has a floor. It doesn't. It's a tunnel that keeps dropping until the dark weighs as heavy as the last eviction notice taped to the door. A cracked bulb flickered overhead, staining the room with jaundiced light. One spoon, one chipped mug, one blanket gone threadbare from too many cold nights. Proof that life had been reduced to single digits. My ribs ached each time I breathed. Hunger is an alarm clock that never shuts up. The night stormed outside like it had a score to settle. Rain hammered the tin roof. Water snaked through a hole in the ceiling, and the drip, drip, drip mocked me with perfect rhythm. I sat on the floor, spine pressed to peeling wallpaper, counting the drops because numbers were easier than memories. Each one whispered the same verdict. Failure, relationships, ruined, promises, broken, dreams, auctioned for pennies I never received. Fear found me there, slick voice, velvet fangs. "You're empty," it hissed. No skills, no future, no witnesses. It listed every defeat, the engagement that disintegrated, the debts I couldn't outrun, the nights I screamed into a pillow until sunrise bled through the curtains. I pressed my palms to my ears, but fear changed tactics, began speaking from inside my chest. That's how darkness fights. It uses your own heartbeat as a megaphone. At some hateful hour, the storm quieted, leaving a silence that felt louder than thunder. I dragged myself to the one item I'd refused to sell, an old composition notebook. The cover was bent, corners frayed, but blank pages weighted like fresh snow. I wrote a single line in crooked letters, 1 inch forward or die here. The words looked pathetic, but they pulsed. I didn't know what moving forward meant, only that I'd measure progress in inches if miles were impossible. First step, movement. My bones protested, but I dropped to the ground and forced 10 push-ups. Elbows flared, lungs burned, head spun. On the 9th rep, my arms buckled and my chin kissed concrete. I stayed there, cheek cold against the floor, tears leaking sideways. I'd failed at push-ups. Even gravity had no respect left. But a vile little spark inside me whispered, 9 is not 0. So I crawled back up and finished the 10th. Something shifted. Imperceptible, but real. Morning brought no mercy. The puddle on the floor had spread. Mold perfumed the air, but the notebook awaited. I logged 10 push-ups, drank water, still alive. I paced the room, calculating what else I could control. Calories, too few. Time, too much. Pain, unlimited. Pain, then, would become currency. I scavenged scrap wood behind a closed-down hardware store and fashioned a pull-up bar between 2 alley walls with rope and rusted pipe. Splinters bit my palms. I bled. I hung. I failed. I tried again. Each blister was an unpaid bill, scratched in flesh. When cramps twisted my stomach, I chewed ice chips and recited the push-up count like prayer beads. My world narrowed to reps, sets, breaths, seconds. Setbacks struck with sniper accuracy. A sprained ankle from slipping on wet pavement benched my sprints. A sinus infection blurred vision and balance. The landlord padlocked the power, plunging nights into perfect blackout. But darkness became camouflage. I trained in shadows, unseen, forgotten. When sleep paralysis pinned my chest at 3 a.m., I fought back by flexing a single finger until the nightmare cracked. Weakness hated witnesses, and I refused to blink first. Some evenings, the voice of surrender dressed itself as nostalgia. "Remember comfort?" It cooed. I answered by gripping the pull-up bar, until forearms shook, whispering the mantra etched on page 1. 1 inch forward. Inch by inch, the alley became dojo, cathedral, battleground. I taped stoic maxims to the bricks. Rain smeared ink, so I carved them deeper with a pocket knife. Let the sky try to erase me. I'd write in scars. Midwinter, a local underground gauntlet, a brutal obstacle race lit by flaming barrels, announced open tryouts. Winners earned respect, gear, a place in the legend reels played in boxing gyms and back alley bars. Applicants needed a registration fee I didn't have and a reputation I'd never earned. But pride dragged me to the warehouse to watch. Metal music rattled corrugated walls while giants flipped tractor tires and sprinted through smoke. I was a skeleton in thrift store shoes. A judge with a clipboard swept his gaze across the onlookers and landed on me. "You here to compete?" I swallowed. "Not yet. Soon." He laughed. "Son, you don't look like you finished breakfast." The crowd cackled. Shame slithered up my spine. His words should have buried me deeper. Instead, on the bus ride home, I replayed the laughter until it compressed into a diamond of rage. No one had seen the alley, the mold, the midnight push-ups. They'd mocked the chrysalis, ignorant of the wings assembling inside. That night, I erased every comfortable line inside the notebook and wrote new commandments on a ripped trash bag liner, then duct taped it to the wall. 5 hours sleep. The rest is forging. I vanished from street corners and soup kitchen queues, deleted my voicemail greeting so callers met static, sold my last chair for a weighted vest made of sand-filled plastic bottles. Dawn found me, crawling up construction scaffolding, fingers numb from frost, repeating each rung like a litany. They didn't see. I devoured anatomy charts, learned to fire every muscle fiber like a string of explosives. I built a sandbag out of discarded denim, hurled it until shoulders screamed. I punched brick walls wrapped in towels until the towels shredded and knuckles hardened like river stones. Pain was promotion, blisters, a pay raise. Calendar pages disintegrated. Friends assumed I'd moved away or died. Solitude answered more faithfully than any lover. It always showed up. By month's end, I could dead hang for 2 minutes, sprint 12 alley lengths without stopping, squat my own weight, plus the sins I refused to repeat. Triumph slipped in before dawn, cloaked as exhaustion. I realized I no longer feared the mirror. The ribs were still visible, but cables of muscle webbed across them like rebar under cracked concrete. Eyes once glassy, with defeat now blazed. I retied my shoes, laces frayed to strings, and jogged back to the warehouse. Clipboard judge looked up from forms, disbelief flickering. I placed my entry fee, coins scavenged from laundromat lint traps, folded bills earned hauling pallets for a street vendor, and met his stare. No giggles came. The pen hovered, inked my name. Tryout day smelled of sweat, gasoline, and applause, waiting to turn into mockery. Contestants prowled the start line, some twice my width, tattoo sleeves flexing. I inhaled the burn of kerosene torches, felt fear rear its head, and crushed it between molars. Gunshot pop, race on. First obstacle, barbed wire, crawl through mud. I slithered like a starving wolf, letting wire kiss the fabric of my shirt so the barbs tore tiny warnings across my back. Second, sledgehammer hits on concrete blocks. I pictured every doubt I'd ever swallowed and split the stone in 13 swings. Ropes, ice baths, walls slick with oil. Each challenge another paragraph in the silent manifesto I'd written in sweat. Pain crescendoed at the final gauntlet. 100-meter sprint carrying a log of flame at both ends. Flames roared inches from my ears. Smoke clawed my lungs. 50 meters in, legs quaked. The crowd sensed collapse. Whispers fluttered. Fear's voice tried one last ambush. "Drop it. Everyone will understand." I answered aloud, voice ragged. They didn't see the weapon I was becoming, and I ran faster. I crossed the line to a sound I'd never heard before. Thunderous disbelief. Someone draped a silver medal around my neck. The gold had gone to a behemoth by 3 seconds, but no one noticed him. They surrounded the ragged skeleton and carried fire like it was oxygen. Cameras flashed. I felt each bulb as a detonating star. A week later, organizers summoned medalists back for an exhibition relay broadcast to thousands on pirate streams and local sports bars. The behemoth, now my teammate, approached during warm-ups, eyes narrowed. "You came out of nowhere," he said. "Where'd you train?" "In a place no one wanted to see," I replied. We lined up. When the baton slapped into my palm, I exploded down the track, lungs singing with wildfire memory. Viewers would see speed. They wouldn't see the nights taped together by hunger and hatred. That was fine. Weapons are most dangerous when no one notices them being forged. We won by a margin wide enough to etch our names into the circuit's lore. Reporters begged for a backstory. I gave them silence and a half smile. Let myth do the heavy lifting. I stand here now, not holding trophies, but flexing fingers still raw from brick wall punches. The alley is gone. City crews demolished it for new condos. But I remember every crack in every brick, every drip that mocked me, every push-up that felt like digging upward through cement. I keep the ripped trash bag commandments folded in my pocket, ink smeared, duct tape brittle, because reminders matter. Listen closely. The furnace that birthed me still roars, hungry for fresh metal. I feed it daily. Reps, books, quiet thunder inside my skull. I will never be done sharpening. Forge in silence. Bleed in private. Emerge roaring. By the time they notice the blade, it's already mid-swing.